that tons of fireworks are going off in my neighborhood.
Right.
That's all
My
right.
dogs are freaking out, which I knew might happen, but I didn't realize it was going to be so many fireworks. It happens all year round, but usually there's a buildup before July 4th.
Right.
Just so you guys are aware that my dogs may have meltdowns. But it sounds like you have the same issue on your end with Ginger.
We've been talking about having an episode where we like give away something if somebody can guess the minute my dog's gonna howl. In the background.
If I wasn't doing one headphone on, one headphone off, I probably could win that. No problem. Because I had, especially in Paris, not to be all like, oh, because when I lived in Paris, but I could generally, I had a sense when the ambulance and the wee woo wee, those really weird sounding police sirens were going to go off, and my dog was going to freak out.
Yeah, well, we live just like a couple of blocks from a hospital, so we very often it'll be 3:00 in the morning and just
yeah.
And she's a regular on the podcast at this point.
She tries to match the pitch. It's actually pretty interesting.
That will make me feel so much more comfortable.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. Must love dogs. Yeah. Definitely a part of this. Endearing part of our podcast. You got to love animals, I think.
Yep. I think they go or hate them with a great passion for a very particular reason and be able to explain why.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship some days. Sure.
Well,
it is.
I guess I was going to try to say something wise, and I just knew I wasn't going to pull it off, so I stopped in my tracks.
There you go.
Okay, so you guys can hear me all right. It does seem like I can see my sound wave, and it does seem much bigger than both of yours. So
yeah, but you're not hot.
Yeah, it's not coming in hot. I'm not worried about that at all.
Can you guys, if I do start coming in hot, can you please scream, coming in hot?
Yes, I'll do that.
You screamed right there, and it barely came in just slightly hot.
Yep. No digital feedback I can see. No, yep. All right. I even feel like lately with all the updates with some of the audio programs that they've built in with, I guess if I really wanted to take the time and dig in, I could find, it just seems like a couple years ago, all of a sudden there's a much bigger buffer zone in terms of digital feedback, which I'm an expert at because I'm always feedback.
You're a boundary pusher with that stuff, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, especially going quiet to loud. So I feel like at some point programs have just gone, no, we know you. We've got you in our sites, and we know that you're going to try to hit that digital wall. So we're going to just go ahead and build in a buffer platform. Because I feel like it seems like I've fed back while I'm recording, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to redo that. And then I look at it after I've saved, and it's suddenly like, no, it's cool. It's all right.
Yeah. I think that's a big problem with these. I mean, they've made these programs also so cumbersome and everything. We were talking about podcasting software in general. It's like they overproduce making these apps and everything. It's like, how hard can it really be just to record a conversation?
Yeah.
It's like multiple tracks and all this stuff we have to mix. And it's, it's just, I don't know.
I don't know anything about that, but I definitely agree. I feel like, again, not to be, complaining about back in the day, but I feel like I was very comfortable with all my quick commands, all my Apple whatevers with Logic, and then all of a sudden everything switched, and now it's all these very unorganistic. I don't know. It doesn't flow anymore, and I have to sit there and go, what?
Well, we had actually had a conversation kind of related to that when we had on Mike Silverman a little while back, and just talking about just the there's nothing. It's becoming less and less tactile. And just that feeling of it just takes away.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like, again, people justifying their jobs, changing things that don't need to be. Anyway.
I agree.
And then I'm going to start to talk about when I went to school, walking through the snow, blah, blah, blah.
Whatever happened to microfiche? We need to bring that
back. Oh, I was digging through a box. So I've been trying to sort through old files that I don't need, which is always very emotional and painful because you see things. But I found some old, what is it, a mini DV of a friend's of like recording footage of velomobiles in the Netherlands. And I'm like, why do I have this? I have no idea why I would have my friend's micro DV of footage of velomobiles in the Netherlands. Why?
Right. The things that, I remember I was working in radio at the time when those were coming out, and we had them at the station, and these are so cool, and they're going to replace everything. And Nope, that didn't work out.
Not so much. Those little like 3-inch CDs, looking 3-inch DVD type things that we
like in a little, and they came in.
I'm surprised you had anything that could play it.
No, that's the thing. I don't know why I have it. I did help produce this thing, but and also maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. I think it said micro DV, but it looks more like an ADAT to me. I don't know. I'm so confused.
Mini disc, because it looked like a little.
It looks like a little mini cassette. Disc. Like a little mini cassette.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So even more old school, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? Yeah, I'm trying to remember what format.
Oh, I just heard ice in somebody's glass. Who else is drinking?
Me. Guilty.
I'm very shy, so I was worried. But I think my ice has melted enough.
Yes, social lubricant.
Oh
I try to use plastic cups, but it doesn't work.
Metaphor right there.
These new mics are too sensitive.
Breaking the ice.
It's okay. I'm just glad I didn't clink first.
Yeah. Well, I could say it's water, but I'd be lying. I've got that too.
Me too.
I'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
Got to stay hydrated as I dehydrate myself.
I feel like I should high five you.
Hydration. Tap the mic. Here you go.
There you go. Yeah.
That's my.
I'm so jealous that you guys have mics. I'm so stupid. I should have bought a USB thingy mic thing.
No, you sound actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I know, but I can't do any like mic effects like you do. I can't tap the mic. I can't like go in and go.
Right.
Just so you guys are clear, I'm not visualizing you guys with mics on a desktop. I'm visualizing you guys wearing like Janet Jackson headset mics. That's the visual I have right now.
Right.
And then you're both sort of wearing matching jackets and doing
right.
We are part of the Rhythm Nation.
Just joining us right now.
Our choreography.
I'm gonna flash John's boob. So that'll be nice. So Lisa, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
What a pleasure. Does that mean it's finished now? Yay!
Yeah, we're done.
Completely done. Wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
wardrobe malfunction.
We haven't formally introduced.
No.
Of course, we have met a long time ago. Maybe we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm Matt, and this is Jon.
I'm Jon. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
I'm Lisa.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome. We are really excited to have you.
Yes,
I'm so pleased to be here and so honored that you invited me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's great to have you on.
So we've sort of known each other for, that was, do we even want to say how long ago that was?
No.
I'm fine. No. Whatever you want to do. Let's just say in the 90s if you're feeling.
We'll just say in the 90s. Yeah, that works. So in the 90s.
The later 90s? The latter 90s?
In the 90s.
In the 90s.
And then we all made like rock guitar fingers, like, wow.
So I'm a big fan of one of your many incarnations that you've had, Pet, which was from the 90s. And I don't know, I've long wondered what your experience was like on your end of it, because I felt so, I guess I should explain it before I go into it.
It's really okay, because I now realize, I think back then, or when you go through something when you're really young, you feel ashamed, and now everybody has these experiences.
Right.
And just the idea, like remembering this when you reminded me of it. And just thinking, I think Tyler and I have spoken about that show, and we can have such a deep laugh about it now. But
Good. Well, I have it. Yeah. And if it makes any difference, like it was like this weird kind of bittersweet moment for me. So what happened was Lisa and her band Pet came into Springfield, which is where I was living at the time. Mm-hmm. And I was so excited about this show. Went to the show and they just did a shit job of promoting the show in town. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have even known that it was happening had I not gone to like a record store and I just saw a flyer there. And I was like, holy shit, they're going to be here. And I, couldn't wait.
Clear, it wasn't the band. It's not the band that did a shit job.
No, it was not the band that did a shit job. It was just
advertising,
pimping it out. They didn't do anything. I barely found out. Mm-hmm. And I was just so excited. And then I get there and like nobody's there.
Nobody's there.
It is like just an empty club. You can tell like the people that are there are just like the people that work there and just a couple of, barflies that are always there. It was kind of that sort of an environment.
Well, and you're talking no social media then. You're talking no,
yeah.
It was a different thing.
It was.
And I felt bad about that, but you guys came out and you just rocked. You played, you went through it, you went balls out, and it was awesome. And I
remember we just, it just became like a private dance party / rehearsal / rock with you guys who were there. It was nice. I remember the floors. That's what I remember. It had like beautiful wooden floors. Am I wrong?
Yeah, because it was in that loft.
Yeah.
Where was it? Where was the show, Matt?
Why am I the club that was in the loft?
Above the what was that? Like 1, 2, 4.
Outland?
The Outland. The Outland. It was above the Outland. Yeah. Yep.
So that's where it was. And you guys rocked. And I remember there was this cool, I got way too drunk that night. Mm-hmm. And it was partially like, and I'm not normally like that at a show because I like to actually really pay attention to what's happening. But I also felt like so bad that nobody was showing up that I felt obligated to buy drinks.
Can I tell you why you shouldn't feel bad? Now I can, in retrospect, you can feel much better. I think compared to another show, I think I probably shouldn't say the name of the city. Mm-hmm. In a different city, we had the experience of the audience walked in and deliberately turned their backs on us.
Oh no.
And I don't know why. I really don't know why. I still to this day, I think we couldn't figure out because it's not like we were, saying anything or nothing had been done or said. It was just, I guess the cool kids decided that's what they were going to do that day. And it was so I think after that you can never, and also not to just be on the negative, to comment on the negative spectrum, but you have so many good shows and the ones that are a little strange have their beautiful, like you said, bittersweet, have the things that are special. Uh-huh. And I think it was just you probably got to experience us. Like I just, when I was doing a show in Paris a couple of weeks ago, the guy who was actually an English promoter, he was so happy. He was hanging out during soundcheck and he just said, oh, I just love, it always feels like a special private little concert for me when I get to watch soundcheck because everybody's so relaxed compared to the show. The show is a different thing. It's a different energy, but to see everybody kind of, just with the energy a little bit lower, and it's something very special. And I think that was sort of what was going on there. We just sort of went, oh, and you became part of the band for that night. So
I can honestly say that I felt that to a certain degree. Like I would never presume to be a part of the band, but at the same time, man, I got to have, I don't know many people that can say they got to have like one of their all-time favorite artists give them a private performance. And
I'm so touched. Thank you for turning that into something very sweet.
There you go. We've got it saved for
posterity. Well, thank you. And then afterwards, I have to say, you were like, after it was over, you were so nice to me. It came right up to me, and I think I remember you asking, like, how did you know our songs? Because I was singing along with everything.
Well, I guess if we were going to have one audience member, or two, because your girlfriend was there too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If we're going to have two audience members, I mean, how could we ask for better than that?
Yeah. It was a good night. I think she got a little bit jealous that night when I think maybe we overtalked it a little bit. You know what? That's okay. I haven't talked to her in longer. It's been.
Oh, okay. So okay.
This is a past tense relationship.
Oh yeah, well out of the picture.
But you know what? She became a Pet fan after that night.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
And she originally did not want to go to the show. I had to basically say, "We're going. I'm going. I want you to come. More like it." But I'm not staying with you tonight if you. Right. And so she finally came.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I don't. That's the most I've talked about her in years.
Yeah. That was quite a few sentences, actually.
I know. I'll stand up. So I just remember it as like this really awesome night. And I had the tackiest idea, the proposal that I gave you.
I think it was a good idea. If the industry could have struck when the iron was hot on that, I think it would have been perfect. But I think just tying the ends up together on it would have been too hard to pull together. But that was when Pat Boone, right?
Right, yeah. I've told John this story a time or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So at the time, Pat Boone had put out an album of metal covers.
Right, yeah.
And it was kind of a big novelty thing. And I thought, gosh, that would be really funny if I had like all these rock acts cover
that
Pat
would have
Boone
been
tunes.
so
Pat Boone songs, yeah.
I guess that is the true definition of meta.
Yes.
Postmodern, slap it right back.
Yes, rocking about rocking. I remember that. I remember that like press photo we came out with that leather like vest on and those wraparound sunglasses, and had like a faux hawk put up in gel. I don't know if you remember that. Like a Pat Boone.
I don't, but I can imagine.
I kind of remember that. I kind of
gorgeous.
Remember that. But just, the jazzed up, going off the rails on a crazy train.
Oh, hey. Yeah. God, that would have been great. Yeah.
Oh, Pat.
Poor Pat.
That was fun. And you did, speaking of covers, you did like the best cover I've ever heard of Baby Got Back.
Baby Got Back?
Oh, yeah. Do you remember doing this?
I guess it's been covered a lot.
Caught you off guard.
Yeah. We didn't have that many covers. It's so, I think we did it to like Jamie's Crying, like Tyler played Jamie's Crying on the guitar and I screamed Baby's Got Back over it. But it was so fun. I think a lot of people have covered that song since then. So,
Yeah, I don't think at the time it was something that was like highly covered.
No.
Was it Richard Cheese did like this jazzed up version of it, and then it kind of got covered more.
It's awesome.
I remember that.
Mm.
My Anaconda don't, and now there's Anaconda. So. I'm sorry, am I losing you guys?
I missed the end of that.
Oh, I did the Anaconda line, which is now a Nicki Minaj song, and I love her. So.
Oh
yeah. No, if you ever stumble across like a copy of that, I still would love to relive that moment to some degree.
I think the world needs to relive that moment.
I think we did go in and record it. I don't remember if we finished it. I'd have to ask if anybody has it. Yeah, let me see.
Yes, I think the world needs that.
So speaking of that, being in that show with Tyler, you've got like this incredible catalog. like of just things that you've done and different artists that you've worked with. And honestly, like Jon and I tried to like just research a little bit and brush up, and you're a hard woman to keep up with.
Yeah, to kind of track and see what was going on. I fell down a big rabbit hole today of like the Mars Volta and Racer X, and looking at everything like Juan did and stuff you've done, and it's just like, wow, it's like, yeah, I think I'm getting off track here. Had to get back to your.
I think it used to be, when I first started, I didn't set out to be a vocalist. I love songwriting, and I just sort of, you sing your songs and people respond. And, but I always had kind of done different kinds of music, both heavier stuff and quieter stuff. And I think I wanted to always continue in the vein that would maybe be a little bit more like an instrumentalist, where you get to do a larger variety of projects. Maybe not these days, it's not such a big deal, but when I was in PET, I did have some professional people say, as a vocalist, you can really only do one thing. And I always felt uncomfortable with that. And it was a bit of a struggle at first because I'm shy, and I think I always wanted to, okay, if you say so. And then after a while, I just realized that's not me. I like kind of disappearing into the world. I like doing my own stuff. I like the kind of beautiful parameters that you get when you do someone else's project, and trying to find your way into their world and be appropriate for what they're trying to express. So that's been I feel very lucky to have had and continue to have the opportunity to work with a huge variety of artists. I know that sounds so, politically, but I'm so thrilled. I'm just coming back from, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing some recording projects with a couple completely different, one completely a jazz pianist. The other is just singing really hard chanson français, kind of French pop, but very, very, very clever words. That's chanson français. It does mean pop music, but more than that, it means that lyrics and what you are actually saying means a lot.
Right.
So much more challenging than the level of French I have. I have pretty good conversational French, but to sing that fast and that, I don't know, so a lot of different things going on. And I'm glad that's part of who I am as a artist, is that I get to do a lot of different things, scream my ass off, and then whisper sexy robot crap.
Right.
And I don't know. And just, the stuff with June and some of the more jazz or world-oriented artists get to do stuff that's what I call kind of orchestral, that your voice has to kind of be as big, or that it can't get swallowed up by a live orchestra, because that's who I'm playing with. That's the palette. Oh my gosh. I think that's more than I've said in a year.
Really?
No.
Oh my, I'm not very good I don't talk good.
You're doing,
you're doing great. No, I mean, I just, I was thinking about that earlier, and one thing I've been stumbling over all day today is just like trying to formulate this question, but it's like looking at like your work in Big Sir, and then looking at how prolific you are, looking at how you play with all these different artists. I mean, some people, as musicians, have kind of a band mindset, you know what I mean? We're like, I'm part of this band, or others kind of look at it like a project mindset, I mean, do you think though that when you're, when you're playing with Big Sir, when you're playing with Pet and things like that, to you, was that a project oriented thing, or do you think you were just, I'm in the band? And does that make sense?
I don't know. I think for me, it's, not first, but so many thoughts at the same time. What to say first? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm bad at that.
I mean, again, at this point, no, it's me. At this point, I'm working with people on a lot of these projects. I mean, definitely some new people always. But a lot of these relationships I've had for a long time. I mean, like Big Sir, working with Juan, we've been working together for quite a long time. So it's a very intimate and intense relationship.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't feel like a switch is turned off. And I think if anything, I mean, it just gives a little bit of space that sometimes being in a band can, sometimes it can get a little too crowded or intense.
Yeah.
I say this after having gone down my own rabbit hole yesterday of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Again, speaking about, like when you're talking about people who are in their 70s still having band fights,
right.
Maybe it's not so bad to have a little bit of space. And it seemed like they had kind of figured it out. Like, oh, well, we all go off and do our own things, and we come back and it's all wonderful. But nope, they're still having band fights. So.
Yeah. I always thought that was kind of crazy about like the Eagles a few years ago. And it's like, we're getting the band back together. It's like, man, maybe if you'd done that about 15 years ago or so, it might have been a good time. But,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's a testament to you that so many people want to keep coming back to work with you.
That's really no. Excuse me for interrupting. It's a little bit of a lag. Sorry. Please finish what you were saying. How rude of me.
That was pretty much it. No, you weren't being rude at all.
I will answer then, and please let me. I feel I'm kind of in debate. Like, let me finish or something.
No.
I don't know if there really is a better feeling than to know that someone is always considering something in their music for you. I mean, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I don't think, I'm sure there's always people in everyone's lives that would beg to differ if you feel that you're a pretty easy person to get along with. But, I think for a long time, my shyness was an obstacle to people. I think people thought I was difficult, and it wasn't. I just really had a hard time communicating and, speaking for myself in a way that didn't feel confrontational, maybe. Mm-hmm. And now I feel much more comfortable, and I actively worked at it. I think after feeling like, not with the band so much, because I feel like with each member of PET, we all worked it out and have been able to talk about things.
Right.
But some of the professional people that weren't the musicians, I really wish I could go back and say, I'm sorry that I struggled so much, rather than being able to kind of comfortably say, this is what I'm comfortable with and this is what I'm not comfortable with. Instead, things would come out in fits and starts. Mm-hmm. And I think I became very aware of that when we finished with PET. And I sat down with myself and I said, something I don't want to be known as a diva. I don't want to be known as someone who's difficult. I've been around people who are and kind of like relish that.
Right.
And I don't want to be one of them. And it's been something that as important as making music, either alone or with other people, and that it should be a wonderful experience. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be hard times and arguments, but there should be an active attempt at joyfulness and enjoying the process, because it is amazing. It's wonderful. It's creating, and I sound like such a Vermont hippie, but it is amazing. And you look back and go, if I could go back, and you don't want to feel like, oh, if only I had done things differently. Because I think I recognized that early on. I didn't want to feel broken up anymore about stuff. I wanted to feel really good about stuff. And I think that has really lent itself to these enduring and wonderful relationships. And, again, I just did a track with this experimental jazz artist. He's actually a woodwinds player, and I am the only vocalist on this album. And that is even, and he said to me, you're the only voice I could imagine on this album. I don't want any. That's so touching. And I feel like such a braggart, like I'm breaking my arm to pat myself on the back. But that means so much to me. And I know it's not just about my voice. It's also about the fact that when we were both playing with Jun Miyake, we had a very good connection, a really comfortable, fun, not in a light sense, but just playful musical sense. So, I think getting out of your own way, to sum it up in some words, is really important.
Right.
To not let the idea of being like what you think it is to be an artist, to be tortured or depressed or whatever, all that stuff comes anyway. Right. So no need to force it. Right. Why not try to have, I don't want to say just happy or what, I mean, it's just more, I don't know, fulfilling time, and kind of actively seeking that early on.
Yeah.
I think has made all the difference.
There's nothing wrong with enjoying it.
No.
And I kind of leads me to
a lot of people miss that.
But yeah, I think that kind of leads me to another question. It's like, this may be way too broad considering the fact that you've done so many projects, and it's like, but trying to put everything under one tent. And I don't want to do that, but it's like, if you could take us into, the writing process, and where it comes from, I was like looking at, I don't know how many links I followed to go through like Bandcamp, and I was looking at like Odin on a Love, and I was looking at like some of your artwork and some of your journaling and stuff like that. It's like, wow, this journal could stand on its own as a work of art. But
God, thank you so much.
It's like I was just thinking about the process. I mean, just typically, and I guess that's the problem, like saying typically, because everything is so atypical. But I mean, do people usually seek you out? How does the writing process go when you're looking at, new songs or because it's sort of like this, it's, everything seems to be a really interesting process with the way that you do it.
Yeah, I think for me, I can't speak to other writers, but for me, each song, and then by extension, each project and or band is different. And I do think most of the time the melodies come first for me, if it is something that I'm actually writing, because there are some projects where I'm just asked to vocalize or sing. Right. And what someone else has created, and that's great, but I really enjoy more when I'm asked to write. Right. Not just words, but for me, writing melodies is the most, that's for me the meat. That is meat and dessert, except I don't eat meat, but what I'm saying? That's the vegetarian meat and dessert all rolled into one, because I feel so light and comfortable and unencumbered when I'm shaping melodies. That just feels like breathing. Writing lyrics doesn't always feel that way. Most often doesn't. So usually it's the melodies that come first and then lyrics after. However, if something strikes me, that's why I do keep a journal. I think as many people do, for whether they're artists or not. I definitely go back and take a look, and because sometimes you write stuff down and you're just like, that's the stupidest thing anyone has ever written.
When you go back and
you go back and you go, hey, there's something there, and then you see it in a different, because sometimes the stuff that I think is the stupidest, it's just because maybe I'm breaking through to a new place and it feels weird and uncomfortable and kind of silly, and then you come back a little bit later and you realize that you've gone somewhere new. So that's generally the experience for me. I imagine it's different for everybody. So yeah, I think that the journal stuff that you're talking about for that particular article where they kind of asked me to contribute something a little bit different. It's pretty reflective of the process of just sort of taking things in, whether it's other people's stuff I've read or seen or visual arts, or ideas or drawings, and just sort of letting them sit and kind of stew and come back to them and then find a place for them. I don't know. That doesn't seem like I really answered your question.
No, I think
I just rambled on and on.
No, you really this is what we're kind of about here. We're
rambling.
Well, when I originally contacted you, we had kind of said, I had told you, we don't really do interviews.
Right.
No, it's like the meander. It's nice.
Yeah. Right. And we kind of looked at it like you can go to a bar and have a conversation, but you don't show up with cue cards.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what we want. We want it to be a real conversation.
Yep. Just hang out. And
conversations wander.
They do. Oh my goodness. For another article, I did a friend of mine, my friend Dante Harper, who's a writer and a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. We decided to talk about, they were asking about this particular song that they were going to debut a video for. So we just went out to dinner and I recorded the conversation that we had. And a lot of it was sort of about both of us kind of being a little too obsessed with the apocalypse and, Can't wait till I'm churning my own butter. Woo! And thinking, you remember back on conversations and the tidbits. Oh, that was so great. But actually listening to the meander of Dante, who is one of, I think is a friend who is very well spoken, but man, get a couple of drinks in us. And we were just so many uhs and ums and likes. And oh no, I had to, it took me 2 days to edit that conversation because there was so much dumb shit amidst all the little tidbits of enlightenment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we said the same. I mean, it's essentially how this podcast got started was just like Matt and I would have these drunken conversations, and it was just like we thought, hey, this is funny. Why don't we just do this on a computer and record it? And then one day when we get hit by a bus or die young, our kids will have something to listen to.
The legacy. Yeah. No, it's so good. I have to say, from when you first contacted me, Matt, to the most recent podcast, I have to say you guys totally have. You both always had great voices, but now you guys have really rich, wonderful to listen to voices. I feel like
that's touching.
It's pretty great. It's very, you guys both have such characters in your voice, character in your voice. And it really pulls you in. And I'm happy that it's moving along for you guys.
We feel kind of, it's very strange.
Yeah,
for us in some ways, we weren't. Honestly, this wasn't where we expected it to go. It was just going to be us bullshitting most of the time.
Shits and giggles. That's what we started out with. Just like,
it's so nice that you just let it. You just. I think you get out of your own way, and something wonderful happens.
Yeah, it's been the best way to do it. I mean, otherwise, because we don't know what we're doing. So if we really tried to overproduce it, we wouldn't do a very good job anyway. So we just kind of have to let go and let it happen. So
right, it would stop being sincere, and then why would anyone want to listen otherwise?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep. Yeah, that just becomes too much to worry about if we don't.
And I kind of feel that though in a lot of what you do, Lisa. And there is that genuineness to it, and I think that's part of what's kept me coming back. All this time. Because
I hope so. Holy crap. I mean, it would be ridiculous for me to try to pretend to be someone who feels very bold and comfortable. I'm not funny, but I definitely feel more comfortable kind of poking fun. And even recently, the shows that I just went and did in Europe, I mean, I think that was a comment that I got a lot in different languages. I think the music is very, I don't know. It's certainly not jokey music. I'm not like going, wow, wanger, or whatever. Right. But I think it would be ridiculous for me to stand up there and like have a fan blowing on me and, staring sternly out at the audience while my guitar player tuned. That wouldn't wouldn't be genuine. And
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just sort of let people in on the fact that I feel very uncomfortable standing up in front of them, and it works out. I don't know. I mean, maybe that wouldn't work out all the time, but for me, it seems to be the right thing to just let people know that I feel a little bit fidgety. And then when the music starts, I don't feel uncomfortable. I feel very, very comfortable in the music, but those in-between spots, and you guys are all about the in-between spots. So I applaud you, sir.
Everything we do is an in-between spot. It seems like.
That's wonderful. I mean,
it's interesting though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We certainly don't take any notes, and we have to wing it. I mean, it's just there's no other way. We tried a couple other times, just like, okay, we'll bring notes and we'll have questions. Like,
it's too canned.
It just feels like a.
I have to tell you, I feel very let down that Ginger has not howled during.
Pretty impressive. Somebody.
Yeah. There's no telling when it might or might not happen.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's good. I guess it means that nobody's coming into the hospital, into the emergency room.
Right. Well, usually it tends to happen a little bit later. Like if there are people around, she's a little bit more.
Once last call hits,
hold it. Yeah, it's usually she waits for everybody to go to bed, and I'm like in the basement recording. Sorry, Studio West recording.
The studio. Danny in
West,
Kansas City. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We joke about that. He's in Kansas City. I'm in like Columbia, Missouri. So he's in the West.
Right.
He's in that.
So
nice. But Ginger is there right now.
Yeah. Well, she's yes, she's somewhere not in the room with me.
Somewhere.
Because Rue is right. My dog Rue is right here, and if we were a little closer to her, you could hear her snoring quietly.
Yeah.
And Beulah is upstairs. She finally gave up with me babbling, talking at the computer, and just took herself upstairs.
Who the hell are you?
And again, Beulah is a great name. I think I told you that. I really like.
Yeah, my partner Scott's mother disagrees. But hi, Margie. She's like, that's a horrible name. She doesn't sound like Bernie Sanders. I'm so sorry.
No, I think it's a great name, but I
I think it suits her. She came in as a foster to us, and her slave name was Purdy Bear. I shouldn't know. And she's 120 pounds now. I mean, when she came in, she was 110 pounds. But
what breed?
She's either an English Mastiff. She's either a small English Mastiff or a large Cane Corso. Okay. So she's a Mastiff.
Right.
But I think she's probably a small English Mastiff whoever had her before thought she was a Cane Corso, and they cut her ears, and it's ridiculous. No. But anyway, she's a big gal, and we still keep calling her Purdy. Because forgetting, but slowly but surely we're starting to actually call her by her new name.
Yeah. Well, our dog Maynard is our other dog, and Ginger was adopted, and she had that name so long that really there was no change in it. That wasn't fair.
Yeah.
It's a pretty great name. Poor Rue, she was called Sprinkles. There was no way that was gonna.
Oh shit!
No.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
I still kind of feel angry that even temporarily somebody called her Sprinkles. Right. She was a feral dog living on the streets for the first 6 months of her life. So why would anybody call her Sprinkles? She's a black and white pit bull. Yeah. It's just not
That's
right.
It's a pretty entitled name for a pit bull off the street.
Sprinkles.
Right. She's going to have no cred on the street with that.
No.
Yeah. I tried that with like my kids would. You bring home pets or animals or whatever. It's like, well, I'm going to have to name it if we're going to do that, because their ideas are always like kitty. Let's name him Puppy. It's like, no, I'm not going to call him Puppy when he's 15 years old. Oh, God. It's a good name. And Matt likes those old-timey names, too, for his dogs.
Yeah, I do. I like Maynard. That was why I went with it. Obviously, that's why I like Beulah.
A lot of people are like, are you a Tool fan? And you're like, sort of, but not really.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I had learned Beulah Land. That's where I heard that first. Mm-hmm. It's sort of another word for sort of paradise, and I didn't know that there was a 50s TV show that was in some ways very groundbreaking, in some ways very awful. Do you guys know about this show? I don't. Well, I looked it up obviously, and I guess it was the first show to have the main character be an African American, and this is in the 50s. So Beulah, but she was a maid, so it was very not cool. Right. It was not being a housekeeper. Just that the humor was a little. It wasn't current. Right. It wasn't. It was, but at the same time, it was groundbreaking because she was the star of the show.
Yeah, right. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes progress is pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yep. I've been witnessing that as my family's binge watching Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah. I was a real big fan of the books. And I still am. And I mean, the stories are amazing, but there's Ma.
Yeah.
But again, the times. I don't know. You can't really be super mad at people from the 1860s and 1800s.
Right. And they kind of, they take a lot of liberty with that, I think. But, I don't know. They were also doing some things to, work on integration and, you're breaking down race relations, and I think that's good. But it still had some timeliness issues even in the 70s when they were doing that show. But
I don't know. It's so strange. My brother AJ is Cape Verdean, African American, French. He's
interesting.
So
hi AJ.
Yeah.
Hi Andre Joseph. Woo! So I grew up with a brother who wasn't freckled and Irish like I am. So there's some kind of naivete that I had. But so when I was reading the Little House books as a 7-year-old, and reading about Laura's first experience meeting a Black person.
Right.
And it was actually this incredibly positive experience. Her family, they were a frontier family, I believe in Kansas territory at the time.
Yeah.
And they all came down with malaria, possibly from eating tomatoes, or that's what they believed. Pa picked some tomatoes down by the river and they all got malaria. I don't know. Probably they got bit by mosquitoes, right? So, but they were in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Right. And the doctor that came by to take care of them, because they were all dying in bed, was a Black man. Mm-hmm. And it was, as a kid, her first experience meeting somebody, and it was very positive, and he smiled at her and he gave her the medicine for malaria. And so that's what I took away from, like, oh, how interesting that she had never seen somebody that had a different skin color than her. And that's what I took away from it. But later in the book is Ma saying, oh, I'm afraid of Native Americans and such.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I'm partially Native American. Oh, I don't mean to Elizabeth Warren, because I didn't grow up in that society. So, but DNA wise, as most French Canadians are, anyway. Oh my gosh. Did I just ruin the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
The DNA.
No, you absolutely
not at all.
I think. Yep.
Do you ever wonder though, when I think about things like that and I look at things like that, I wonder what things that I am totally adhering to today that 50 years from now somebody's going to look back and go, I can't believe he did that.
Yeah.
Right. I can't believe he condoned that or went along with it. And it is so common and so accepted right now.
Well, but they're different.
Totally oblivious to it. And I wonder.
Do you guys ever, I just, even with the stuff regarding even myself as a woman who has gone through, I think like every woman and a lot of men have been sexually abused or whatever. Many, I think most people, I think I can comfortably now say, I don't know if it's because I'm a musician or whatever, but it's not just women. A lot of people, go through this in their lives. But even looking back, even 10 years ago at a TV show or a movie, and how much inherent sexism is just right there, and it just breezed right by us, because it's just so ingrained in how we're brought up. And I think no question, even now, as we're having this conversation, again, I grew up with a brother who is Black. So why am I uncomfortable? But I'm so carefully choosing my words and then tripping over myself and having this conversation about reading frickin' Little House on the Prairie books as a kid. But it is interesting. I think it's just important to just barrel through. We got to be uncomfortable and figure out this.
And I think that's definitely going to be a big one. Just definitely issues that we deal with, with sex and with gender and things like that are certainly going to be at the forefront of things that we look back, 20 years from now, and we're going to even have to say to our kids, it was a different time. I'm sorry.
Right. But at some point we have to, the shame has to become positive action. And I think that's something that everybody feels strong. I haven't completely processed this, just having watched the debates last night and Kamala Harris talking to Joe Biden, and she's saying, I don't think you're a racist. This personally hurt my feelings to hear you say these things. And there's all the spin and it's debates and it's politics and it all makes me want to vomit. But at the same time, it was a very genuine moment. And it wasn't one of finger pointing. Really. It was more a gentle nudge of, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you're a really good person. Here's what made me uncomfortable.
Here's the problem with that.
We have to stop painting things in broad strokes and take a look at the little moments that we can attend to.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's a big problem. It's just, it's not that it's a problem with you. It's here's the problem with that statement, and here's what we can learn from it. Just like you say, here's how we can grow from it. Here's how we can learn from it. And I think that's a lot of that's getting lost. I mean, there's, virtue signaling is definitely an issue, I think. And then people, then again, I even struggle with that because it's like, is my virtue signaling about virtue signaling?
Yeah. Bringing it back to Pat Boone and metal, all the meta. We get so tripped up in being humans, being the language, when in fact it's not that complicated at all. We just have to be kind to each other.
Right.
Oh God! Oh, now I sound like Marianne Williams.
Well, no,
at the same time, nothing wrong with that, because everything she was sort of saying, even though there's no way in hell she'll be president, there was nothing wrong with what she was saying. She's saying, "Fuck you, fairmonger. I'm going to come at you with some love." Shit. Oh my God. We were talking about music and now I'm just rambling on. I can't believe it. As
a matter of fact, we should all take an earphone off of our ear and sing "We All the World" right now. I think it's probably a good idea. Get some selfies and we are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. Come on. There's a choice.
What a beautiful voice.
Yeah. Jon was in a band.
Yes. I didn't sing like that, but I was in a shitty.
Were you the singer?
Oh, yeah, I was in a shitty punk band when I was in high school. So, well, actually,
why do you qualify it? Don't qualify it.
Well, actually, I was probably the shitty punk singer. It's kind of funny. It's like our bass player was into country, our guitarist was into hair metal, and I was the kid who was trying to get them to listen to the Sex Pistols and the Misfits, and they never went for it. But
I don't know. Unique sound. You should hit it again, man. You got that smooth You got a smooth baritone going on
Get
now.
the band back together, man.
Yeah, we're getting the band. We'll start a metal doo-wop group.
That's what you guys should add to your podcast, is that you should compose a song for each episode.
See?
And then at the end of the episode, okay, we're going to throw it up and everybody has to sing along and then you'll have a whole album of material and you'll be good.
Well, we fantasized about just the idea that we've got different musicians that we've had, and it's like we should all get them together for like a super group.
Right.
That would be super
that makes an album just for us.
Yeah.
We would really like that, and we would definitely want you on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then just sell it to the Farmer Bro just for $1 million with the Wu-Tang album that he bought.
Yes.
Live from Danny McCandy Studios.
What a douche. Yeah. I couldn't stand that dude.
Yeah.
Buddies.
It's such a special word when you live in France because it just means shower.
Oh.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
He needs a shower.
Oh, a shower. Yeah.
I'm sure he's enjoying some showers.
Oh my gosh. Are we going towards soap humor?
Huh?
Like dropping the soap humor? Oh no, guys.
Always an
no
option.
good.
Sorry.
Always an option.
All right.
No, it's my fault because I just went there.
No, that's totally where I was going.
Now I'm a sexual predator. Great, thanks.
Right. Well, I started it.
In a podcast.
So what things were you have to worry about saying like 10 years ago?
Then this is the sort of thing that 50 years from now, if I'm still around, I'll have to apologize for.
Damn.
I didn't know back then. They were different times.
They were just jokes. Just jokes.
So I was kind of thinking almost like going back.
To any topic.
We do. We seriously have had the conversation like, what if we took this? It would put our super groups together in our head, and you're definitely a big part of that equation. We just had Martin Adkins on, and man, all I was thinking was, not all I was thinking, but I was very much thinking about like your little jam. You had, what was it, the Shooting Stars with
with Chris with Seagack.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, such the loveliest human being, Chris Sagakis.
He's a talented dude.
He is. Just such a kind soul too. I love being around. Again, going back to spending time with people that you enjoy being around. You know, lovely person, really talented.
So you've just got like all these people. I was today kind of thinking about it, and like, it's almost like Pet is a super group in reverse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Like, because everybody's gone on to do some pretty cool shit. From Pet. You've done some amazing. Tyler, find a movie or TV show, and there he is.
Yeah.
Score for it. And then you and Juan have done some pretty awesome stuff. And I did not realize until recently that he had like joined Pet toward the end. And I thought that was cool.
No, for sure. And and again, I'm not trying to be like, and then Juan, and before Juan, it was Justin Melville Johnson. Right. So we've had a lot of wonderful people kind of, it was just a really special time.
But
a lot of special people.
Yeah. And I'd read and I didn't know about that until I'd read he had written a little something about, auditioning for Pet and being so intimidated by it.
Oh, Juan?
Yeah.
He's so crazy. Oh, I know. I remember reading that and being like, what are you talking about? You're so nuts. Because he's so not harsh. He's so intense when you first meet him that he was insanely intimidating. But I guess you never feel intimidating, I think, as somebody. I don't, maybe Madonna feels, she's like, I know that I'm intimidating, but I certainly never feel that way. But I think I think part of being a shy person, I think sometimes shyness comes across as aloofness and can be intimidating. But Juan's not shy. I just think he doesn't realize what a force of energy he is, both just as a, like talking to and then playing with him. But I think we auditioned on my birthday, and I told him after we finished playing, I'm like, this is the best birthday present ever. It was so great to play because it was immediate that we found the person who really understood the kind of wanting to have an organic feel, even with some of the weird time signatures and kind of tribal drums. He just got it, and it wasn't that other people weren't great musicians. It just, music is very particular. I mean,
absolutely.
Not everybody can sound like Shaka Khan.
Right.
Not everybody can sound like Tom Petty. Everybody, it's different. And that's what's so wonderful. Music is so personal and it strikes everybody differently. And, it was just really a wonderful experience to, what seemed very comfortable to me. And then to hear him later talk about, I felt so intimidated or whatever.
Right, but
I want to punch you in the head.
What a compliment, though. I mean, he's coming from like a pretty accomplished act at this point in his career. Like he's playing with some really talented musicians in Racer X.
Oh yeah, and when you listen to the Mars Volta, it's just
like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the Mars Volta.
I think I think at that point, he had done some other things other than Racer X at that point, but they were mostly his projects. And I think he was still carrying even though, I met on tour, we would meet guys, or guys and gals, I should say, which is true, just musicians who were coming to shows just because they had studied his bass lines in music school, and I had no idea because I didn't come from a metal background. Not that it has anything to do with genre, but oh my God, when we were in Boston, there were people from Berkeley who just like, oh my God, John Alderetti, we studied, what is it, scarified bass line in our class. And he was so amazing, but I think he was still coming from the place of people being like, oh, you're that metal guy, where people were still kind of like, like trying to distance themselves from metal. Fortunately, I hadn't been in that world. So I didn't really go, well, why would I care? You're just amazing. So it was great. And, now nobody cares because music is music. There's so much more crossover between genres and.
Well, it's definitely a departure from the Mars Volta. I mean, that's, that stuff. I mean, I love them, but I mean, it's just like, the first time I heard them, I was just like, I don't know if I can ever wrap my mind around this. It's just so intense and just, just the screaming guitars and vocals and just kind of, it's amazing. It's like, wow, and that's really him. It's like, but still he can nail that minimalism too. And that, the fretless work and stuff. Just, wow, incredible guy.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, with Juan. I mean, we were talking earlier about being genuine and present. Juan will say, I was never the greatest reader, or I was never this or that or whatever, but you cannot touch him when it comes to being genuine when he plays. Doesn't matter what group he's playing with, he is himself, and there's no, especially with bass. I mean, just he has such a voice, and that's Big Sir. That's the thing. It's a 2 vocalist band because it's him playing fretless, that voice, and me duetting with it. I mean, it's so great. Yeah. I just love him.
And I know, and I think that kind of speaks to you. I think you have to have an ear as much as you do a voice. I think, and I think you're very good at identifying other voices.
Well, I think what you say about ear, I think the musicians, whatever they play or sing or do, that interest me the most are the ones that I feel are listening.
Yes.
When I hear them play or sing or whatever they're doing, I can sense how much they're listening to everything around them. God, even I have to say, I went to see Prince when he was doing like a million concerts in LA a couple of years before he passed away. That's the thing that blew me away. I mean, it was the greatest show. He played for 5 hours, Stevie Wonder, all that's shock, just like the most amazing things. But the thing that blew me away was, here's Prince, someone that all of us just love and, bow down to. And on stage, I could tell that he was listening to every single musician in his band. He was talking to them. He was listening to them. He was talking to them. He was interacting with them.
Yeah.
He listened to everything, even though he was fucking Prince.
He doesn't have to at that point.
He could have just
he could have winged it and just done whatever, just showed up and waved everybody and
I mean, part of the concert he just played by himself, and that was, he could do it, and he's so great. But the thing that blew me away was watching him listen to his sax player and interact with it, and just really listening and then riffing off of that. I mean, to me, those are the musicians that even in recording, I can tell that their ears are bigger than their mouths. Right. I don't know how
or their ego.
Or their fingers, or their, for all the jokes we make about guitar players, that was a big laugh, but it doesn't, that's why I love Tyler. Tyler is an amazing guitarist, but before he's an amazing guitarist, he's such a great listener. He's such a great musician. And that's why I think he writes these scores that people are so pulled to. He really listens, Anyway, I'm not going to say the word listen anymore. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's fine. I like the word listen. Yeah.
I think we need to do more of it. I know. I hate that cliche. Like, the cliche itself really annoys the shit out of me. It's one of those that I'm like, God damn, it's true. You got 2 ears to listen, one off to talk, right? What do you think that means? That God, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the cliche? I don't know.
There's like this line, Lord gave you 2 ears to listen and one mouth to talk. What do you think you're supposed to do more of?
Yeah.
Oh, it works much better with the Midwest.
Right, with the Midwest thing. So maybe it is a Midwest thing. I don't know.
The Mark Twain. You got some Mark Twain going on there.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's related.
Down the river.
Yeah. Yep. Everybody in Missouri is related to Mark Twain, I think.
Probably.
Hey, I as somebody who grew up on the East Coast and then spends a lot of time on the West Coast, and one of them coasters, but I've driven cross country so many times, and for a long time I was just sort of doing the 40 straight and then the 90 or the 94. But the past couple of years, I've been cutting up through Oklahoma City into Missouri. And I'm so glad, because I had no idea how beautiful.
We are here.
I've been to Missouri, obviously, before, but I just didn't. I think I haven't been through. I think it's actually called the Mark Twain
National Forest.
It's all over Missouri.
That area. It's so beautiful. And I'm so appreciative that, in a way, that it's something new that recently that's come into my life. You're driving through there with Rue, my dog. Really blown away.
Yeah, virtually untouched too. A lot of it too. That's what's nice. Yeah. We don't have a lot of like Starbucks on our parks or anything like that. It's I mean, it's
I'm gonna be driving down there tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. I mean, I wasn't born in Vermont, so I can't say I'm from Vermont, but Vermont is the home of my heart. It's where I grew up as a teenager and where I try to spend as much time as possible. And it just, anything that reminds me of Vermont is a good thing. And that's what I felt. I felt like it was this sort of magical, untouched place that somehow gently resisted everything, the same old, again, like you said, Starbucks and Taco Bell and H&M and whatever,
right.
this mold.
Yeah, we got them.
That stuff's creeping in, though.
We got those.
I see a little bit more of it every time I go back down there.
Yeah. So where are you, Lisa? Where are you stationed out of mostly now? I mean, like
I think I'm kind of 50-50, or not 50-50, but I do spend a good deal of time in Los Angeles, and then a good deal of time in Vermont, and then the rest of the time on the road. I love my Los Angeles community. I love the group of musicians and artists and the people I do karate with here. I love them. I love them so much. It's just, for me, it's too hot.
Yeah.
I have multiple sclerosis, and heat makes it difficult to walk for me.
Yeah.
So, and I love being outdoors. So even though I have a huge garden here, I can only garden at night, like the REM song. And it, but it's true. It's just too much. And in Vermont, I can actually be an outdoors person, because it does get hot there from time to time, but more that it's just a little less sunny all the time. And that's what makes the difference for me. I can actually be the person that I feel the most comfortable with, which is someone who is outdoors.
So you're still pretty active with martial arts, and
since I haven't been since I went on tour, but I have to. I just got back, as you guys know, and so I'm probably gonna get back to the dojo this coming week.
So did that come about just really as a way to kind of combat the autoimmune problems, or did that?
In a way, it doesn't make any sense. I shouldn't be able to do it. I have trouble walking across a straight thoroughfare. I have trouble speaking, as has probably been very evident in this conversation. But I swear it's like a different part of the brain. I always wanted to do martial arts, but I was always too busy. And I used to subscribe to Black Belt magazine. I mean, I was just such a wannabe. And then a dojo opened up close to my house, and and they were advertising yoga. I'm like, oh, cool. A place I can go do yoga that is walking distance if I can't drive, because oftentimes I can't drive. And I did the free lesson, and within the first 2 minutes, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this the rest of my life for sure. And there are times where I can't really move my legs well, but that's not what it's about. It's about you have to be present. You have to be exactly where you are, even if it embarrasses you, even if it's humiliating, even if little kids are pointing their fingers and laughing at you, even if you're wearing a white tablecloth with a belt. You have to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know we kind of talked about that earlier, about the in-between spaces. That's what it's about. I mean, you have to be very present with where you're at. And that's very helpful, physically and mentally, with a chronic illness that changes day to day. Days I cannot speak at all, days I can't see, days I can't walk. It's like a Cat Stevens song, if my eyes ever go, if my legs ever go.
You should cover
those beautiful lyrics of Cat Stevens. Yeah, I think I couldn't, because then I would start crying and mascara crying, But no, it completely hit me, because that's one of the first songs I remember is Moonshadow by Cat Stevens.
Beautiful. It's a great song.
And when I love him. I love Husef. And when it started hitting me that my disease was exactly mimicking this song, I just sort of laughed, just whoa, I don't know.
Do you ever get pissed off at yourself in those moments? I cry so rarely, and I'll start to cry, and then I laugh at myself for crying, and damn it, I just put off a good cry.
Do you do a dude thing where you say sissy or whatever? Because ladies, we don't, it's more comfortable for us to. But the interesting thing is, I think I used to cry more when it was uncomfortable for me to get angry. It's something where I know, but it is true. I mean, being an angry, loud woman of a certain generation, you just, no, you don't do it. But crying, sure. And it's not like you think about it. It's just an unconscious thing. And I don't know. I don't cry as much as I used to. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think I just more in the moment with the way I feel and let things come, and because you can't do anything about the way you feel. You feel what you feel, but if you hold on to that shit, that is something you can do something about. And coming back to karate, bringing it all the way back around to the white tablecloths, which is what I call the uniforms, because it's heavy as a white tablecloth, like a heavy tablecloth. That's the thing. You experience everything, and you just have to be very present with it, because you're in the middle of, try not to hit this person in the head, because you learn martial arts to learn. You first have to learn to kill, and then you learn not to. That's the whole point, is that you can defend, and that you learn martial arts because you're a smaller person, not because you're the big brute. You learn it because you're a woman, because you're a smaller man, because you're disabled, because you're disenfranchised, whatever. And you learn it, so eventually you stop the fight before it even is a glimmer in somebody's mean drunken eye.
That's interesting. Is it
that interesting? Probably
no,
not.
It is.
Except because all the karate nerds out there, yeah.
But I'm thinking about it's, and not to be like, I'm part of the cool club, but I've got an autoimmune disorder too. I've got RA.
My gosh, dude, why didn't you tell me earlier? We could have talked about,
Let's start
all
an
our
autoimmunity club.
injectables.
It'll be cool. Yeah.
What injectable are you doing?
We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll connect online and stuff. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, just when the body just starts attacking itself, essentially, is what's happening. And it's hard.
May I ask you? Do you get the night sweats?
Yeah, sometimes. No, I mean, I was kind of looking up some things on MS, and I know other people with MS, but it's like, I think in your case, like what it does is it kind of attacks that like myelin sheath and like attacks the nerves. And with RA, it's a little bit different, where it attacks like the joints and the organs and stuff like that. If it really progresses, but it's mostly the joints. But essentially it's your body just like deciding, I want to eat myself. Your body is foreign to itself, and it's hard to blame it.
And I don't know if you, before you were diagnosed, many years before I was diagnosed, I started breaking out in hives, and went out through all these batteries of tests. And I had a doctor actually say, well, you're just allergic to yourself. And boy, that really stuck with me after. But I don't know if you were diagnosed early on, but it's amazing to actually have a diagnosis. I don't know if you experience this. In a way, it just makes sense of your whole life. All of a sudden everything and you're not the only one. You have a team of doctors who are like, dummy, it's so obvious.
I used to tell people, like, when I'd work construction when I was like in my 20s, and be like, my fingers hurt and my wrists hurt. And they're just like, you're too young to have arthritis or anything. It couldn't be that. You're just, you're tired. You had a long day at work. Okay, it's probably right. And then eventually, I'm going through physical therapy for another issue. I'm just like, man, my hands are just killing me. And I eventually had to tell my doctors, I was like, I'm looking it up online, everything else, now with the graciousness of the internet, I'm like, I think I have rheumatoid arthritis. Test my blood. And they did. And they were like, wow, your RA levels are through the roof. Looks like you got it. And it's like, as much as I've been complaining all this time, everybody just tells me, nah. Doesn't really happen to dudes. You're too young, et cetera. But it happens, and it's rare. But I got it.
Yeah, actually, it's so strange you say that, because all my friends, I have a number of friends in France who have RA, and they are dudes. Yeah. And before I was diagnosed with MS, they would talk about it, and it didn't really register, but it is the same thing. I mean, I had doctors, it wasn't friends or family who were saying you're too this, that, whatever. I had doctors saying, oh, you do too much yoga.
Right.
Oh, you
Too much.
don't take enough vitamins. Oh, you take too many vitamins. Oh, you do, whatever. It was, it's just so hard. And it's hard to push back against that because you doubt yourself. And again, how much, especially in the US, we kind of overwork ourselves. Right. So we're always kind of like, oh, but I just stayed up all night. Oh, I worked too many hours. Oh, so I'm tired. We all have a kind of chronic fatigue and we just sweep stuff under the rug. But I really knew, I mean, I woke up one day and I couldn't feel a spot on my leg. And I just knew in a way that I had never known before that something was different. And I spent a year trying to, shyly convince doctors, like, I have to, saying, I don't like doctors. I stay away from you guys. And I have to tell you something is different. And I gave up. I finally gave up because I had so many doctors saying we don't like, actually doctors like tapping, like, like x-rays and MRIs, like tapping them hard with their fingers saying, we don't see anything, but in French, like, il y a rien. And I was like, okay, I'm wrong. And it wasn't until I woke up one day and I couldn't walk at all, but I somehow like dragged myself into the lady doctor because I had a regular appointment, for my lady doctor checkup. And she being a lady doctor, and when I say lady doctor, I don't mean that she was just a lady. She was.
I have a lady doctor too.
So she's an OBGYN, and OBGYNs generally are doctors that kind of look with their eyes and not just with their brains. She looked at me and she didn't go, let me look at your lady part. She looked at me and she said, what's wrong with you? Oh my God. And I said, oh, no, it's nothing. I've already been told by doctors it's nothing. And she got really mad and she just like stomped over to a phone and like picked up the phone and called somebody. And then she like wrote something angrily on a piece of paper. And she said, after I look at your lady bits, you're going to go to this doctor. Because she looked at me practically, like with her eyes, she said, there's something wrong. She didn't look at her charts. She just went, what the hell? And within 48 hours, I got a diagnosis. She was amazing.
I've been lucky enough to have a couple that were good doctors, just with that good bedside manner, just kind of look you over and you're like,
you kind of have to seek them out. I mean, I think that's the thing I struggled with too, is like, you have to kind of take control, and you don't want to be the doctor. You don't want to be on Google trying to diagnose yourself, but you have to find the people that you can work with, like a band, to bring it back. The people that you can work with. Anyway.
No.
It's amazing. I can't believe, and coming from construction, I mean, that must have been crazy. Just kind of like talking yourself out of pain, like, oh, I got to push through it.
And the weird thing that you probably know just about flares in general is like they can come and go. They can come on you, I mean, really hard for a couple of days, then go away when you're younger and you have it, especially, you go away for 2, 3 years, 4 years before you have an experience. And then all of a sudden, your immunity just changes, and then they're just hitting you really hard and over and over. I mean, that's essentially what drove me to it. Just like, this pain is just too constant. I feel like, something's broken or something's really wrong. And I mean, I had to research it myself, but it's like, I say the same thing to like kids to watch for depression. It's just like, a lot of people will tell kids when they're younger, everybody goes through that thing with puberty and you're getting older, and you're going to get sad sometimes, you're going to get frustrated sometimes. And it's like, but for some, man, it's real significant. And they got to know when there's a normal range and when they're outside of that.
And when it's beyond that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's great. Like it's really about trying to find ways to speak about stuff that registers, that rings. Depression is so hard to talk about, and it's because so many, we all experience times of depression. Right. It's a natural thing, but when, I don't know, I look at it, I like, it makes sense to me as music, when it's not just the voice, but a voice that keeps echoing and echoing and echoing and echoing, like a bad delay that never stops. When it never stops decaying, it just keeps going and going. Looking at it like that, like how you kind of catch yourself when it doesn't stop and it becomes a constant, a background noise. I don't know. And I'm going to keep tripping on myself because, I've gotten so used to sweeping things under the rug because I have to kind of push through, but you have to be really careful. And it's hard, especially when it's not. And depression, I'm about to say, I was about to say not physical, but that's another thing about depression. I think we don't talk enough about how physically it manifests, how much it manifests in physical ways. So anyway, I'm so glad that you're talking about it.
Oh yeah. And, I'm glad to share it. I mean, I always will.
And I can't, obviously I can't relate to some of what you two have experienced. I've been around Jon a lot, and I've seen a lot, with my own eyes of how challenging it can be. And my hat's off sincerely to both of you with that. And it's one of those things, like, I wish I knew how to support it better sometimes. Because it's really,
I think exactly how. I think you do exactly. Again, you're just there, and you just pay attention, and that's what you do. And sometimes when you feel awful, when you're in a relapse, you want to be alone. But it's great when you have friends who are like, I know you want to be alone, but I'm just checking in. I just keep touching base. Okay, I'm not here. I'm leaving you alone, but I'm here. And that sounds like you've been perfect and wonderful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes he doesn't know when to fuck off, but
yeah, that's true.
I'm kidding.
But it's great because he knows when you say to him, fuck off, that you're not saying it, that you're saying it from
he's been
it's just he's talking.
He's been a great friend.
No, we've been really good friends, and I wouldn't. I think we're to the point in our relationship that either one of us could tell the other to fuck off, and we'd be like, okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow.
Maybe I should just take you up on more shoulder massages or something.
Oh, I think I just read an article a couple of days ago about someone talking about with MS, and this is a lot with me too. You can kind of fall into this awful zone because people stop inviting you to things because they know you probably won't show up. And the person writing the article said, just invite me anyway. Even if you know I'm not going to show up 90% of the time, just keep inviting me. Just it's the thought that counts. And you know what? Even when you say to me, hey, I understand you're diseased enough to know that you won't be able to come to a barbecue in the middle of the hot afternoon. But, afterwards, we're going to get together at my house just to give that, just to say, like, I understand, that the evening might be easier for you because it's less hot or whatever, that's all. Just being there as a friend and just be present.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing that I kind of struggle with sometimes is feeling like I'm holding people back. That's the thing. It's tough. It's just like, no, I want you guys to go on to the zoo or go do what you're going to do for the day and enjoy yourselves. And I don't want to be the one that's, dragging everybody down, but I do like to be invited, So it's sort of a hot plate, but I mean, still,
No, and I think the thing is, I think people forget because again, when you look able-bodied or when you seem, that's the thing with a lot of chronic illnesses, if you're kind of not using it, when I'm using my cane, it's really obvious, but it's not always obvious. And sometimes people forget and you have to kind of like, I don't want to have to remind my karate instructor one more fucking time that I can't see him out of my left eye. God damn it. But you have to, you do, people are thinking about, everybody's going through something and, it's hard, but I agree. It's with family and with my partner, you feel sometimes like you're holding them back and you have to just keep reminding them like, no, it's good. It just,
Well, I have a funny story about using a cane that I can kind of lighten it up with a little bit.
I hope you beat somebody up.
No, the funny thing was,
no, why would I hope
my favorite
that?
sunglasses, I've got these like dark black Ray-Bans, the Wayfarers, and I've got a cane. So I was just driving my truck the other day, and I pulled into a parking lot in Jefferson City, Missouri. I don't care if I say them down, but I got out, and a guy,
say it loud and proud.
This redneck guy, like walked up to me and was like waving his hand in front of my face, and he was like, "How did you do that?" And I was like, "Dude," I'm like, "You can see what's going." I'm like, "I'm not blind. I just have a cane and I'm wearing sunglasses today." And he was like, awesome. Okay, well, that makes sense. I was like,
well, at least he was kind. I thought you were going to go into something where he was like challenging
he thought like I was blind, like driving my truck in the parking lot.
Technology is amazing.
Good. Yeah, I was really tempted to say like, yeah, I just honk and I say just like, get the fuck out of the way. Coming in hot. You're gonna have to.
Coming in hot. Woo! I like that we keep bringing things back around.
I think Jon may know this story. This is only semi-related, but so this is gross too. I'll share that in advance.
Okay.
So I went to a Renaissance festival, and this was probably 20 years ago, something like that.
Is that the gross part?
No. Nope. Well, it'll get there. So I had, I had eaten a turkey leg or whatever, and it was passing through me with a quickness.
Right.
That was so horrific with a quickness.
So
did I steal that from you?
I had to find like the nearest restroom, and I went in, and like all the stalls are full except for the handicap stall. Right. And this was going to be like a major emergency. Like I was going to be walking home in shame, and alone. So I go into the handicap stall. I, do my business. I walk out, and there's this guy in a wheelchair just waiting there for me. And he just looks at me just pissed off and says, "What's your handicap, asshole?" Yeah. And I'm like, what do I do? And the part of me just really wanted to, mouth off to him because it was kind of a dick thing to do.
Right. Yeah. So 2 thoughts on that. I used to feel the same way. I now have a different understanding about disabled bathrooms and
accessibility.
Such. Now, my feeling is, oh, good. There's a place that, again, I'm not in a wheelchair, but I need a bigger place, like it is more helpful for me to be in a place where I can put my cane down or I can put my bag down and I can't feel my hands. So like there's surfaces and such. But I don't look at it like, how dare somebody take up 2 seconds of or 30 seconds of my life that I deserve to be in the bathroom before them. I just look at it like, I'm so glad that there is an option for me to go in there and, or, whether it's a bathroom or like getting on a plane earlier. I don't look at it like I need to be first. I look at it like I'm glad that there is a space or time given to me as someone who's disabled to be able to maneuver, slower. Because that's the thing. I used to move so fast and now I can't. And I'm so grateful to just be given a little bit of, whether it's space or a little bit more time. And I don't look at it like I have to be first. Like that guy was like, I get to go in that bathroom first, not you, but rather it's there for him that he can maneuver in. So I don't, that's one thought I have.
I look at it the same way. It's just like, oh, bonus, hey, this is fit for me. Yeah. I do think it's kind of funny though. Matt said later, like he talked to a friend of his who was disabled, and he was like, felt bad about that story. And, he wasn't in a wheelchair, and he said, man, if you got to go that bad, you've got a temporary disability right there.
Exactly.
He's like, don't feel bad about it.
I mean, the guy didn't want to experience your GI distress.
He's like,
well, I actually had like someday if I ever did like sketch comedy, I had like a bit idea for it, like somebody getting a ticket for taking a dump in the handicapped stall. Like someone wearing glasses, and you just see like this ticket slip in front of their glasses while they're sitting on the. Sorry.
No.
We've literally gone to potty humor at this point.
No, I know, and I can't tell the story of the moment I found out that I had MS and I was crying on the floor, what a friend did for me. But I can't tell that story because you will have to edit it out. Because they essentially did something really inappropriate that made me laugh really hard, and it was kind of beautiful.
We'll tell it while we're waiting for the tracks to upload and we stop recording.
Exactly.
Do we need? We need to be aware of you too. I know you need to get a certain amount of rest.
Yeah.
Keep you
I'm fine. I can't make the excuse of being jet lagged anymore, even though I keep trying. No, the only thing that's changed is that Beulah's come downstairs, and she's just sitting near me to kind of remind me that eventually, very soon, she should be fed and go outside.
Yeah. I think all our dogs might have to do that. Well, it might be a good time to wrap it up then. I mean, we'd like to have you back on too, and
absolutely.
I mean,
it would be an honor. Maybe when I'm driving through on my way to Vermont,
cool. Do a live. Do a live remote. That'd be awesome.
But you guys have to have the song written. You have to have the super band song written by then, so I can lay down my part.
All right, we'll work on that. Maybe you can write us a song as well. I think maybe you.
No, it has to be all us.
More you still owe me for not giving me
the Pat Boone cut.
So I tell you what, when you come up with a Pat Boone song for me,
no, we'll write a song. I like that.
Well, here's a question, and I'm not meaning to diss Pat Boone at all. I have no feeling, but did he have original songs, or was he more? I feel like he always did kind of whether he was a stylist,
like a Speedy Gonzalez song or something like that.
Well, I mean that was kind of a big problem back in the day. Like even like a lot of people look at like Elvis's catalog. I mean, the guy did mostly everybody else's work. A bunch of gospel standards for like many years, and like. I mean, only has a handful of songs really when you look at it that he wrote.
Right, but God, if you look at like early, have you guys ever seen some of like before the big, the early Elvis? There is some video footage of him jamming as sort of like or mid Elvis or early Elvis, and man, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, truly, I watched this footage of him. He had like a circle of, it was sort of like this, the crafty guitarist circle, but like in the 50s, he had a circle of people playing instruments. So they weren't playing like a standard band. They were circled up, and he would just go around to them, and he was just like leading them while he was singing. And it was mind blowing. He had such great instincts, listener, someone listening, not just singing over stuff. I have to find this footage because it blew me away. And again, they're just people who don't need to. I mean, he did write, but there are people who are just such amazing stylists.
And don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan. I've been to Graceland like.
No. I'm not saying that you weren't. Stop. I'm not saying that you're dissing. I'm just saying woo.
Have you been down there? Have you been to Graceland and stuff?
I've been through a couple times. I have to, I'm not one, again, maybe not knowing I had MS, not really good for being in the hot sun, walking through things. So I've spent a lot of time in really famous places, parking lots, waiting for friends to go through. So I think I've hung out in the Graceland parking lot a lot.
I guess Sun Records has a great parking lot down there. You can see where they dropped that amplifier and made the first distortion.
Now that would be like, I'm such a nerd. I'm not a super fancy pants engineer at all, but that kind of stuff is so interesting to me. All that.
It's kind of funny.
That was
I took my kids there. We went to Sun's, like my favorite park, because like we had to park around back, and that's where the handicap parking spot was. And I was like, I looked down at my daughter. I was like, see right there, when they made Rocket 88, that fucking amplifier dropped right there and cracked, and they didn't have another one, and that's where distortion came from. This spot in the parking lot. My daughter just looking at me, chewing her gum, rolling her eyes. She's like, Mom.
That sounds like
Dad.
That sounds like when my parents were trying to be really enthusiastic about moving to Vermont, and they took us to the Vermont Marble Museum, which is, by the way, as someone who's unconsciously suppressing my New England accent, you'll listen back to this and you'll hear me put R's in the wrong place. That's unconsciously suppressing a New England accent. You put R's in weird places. But anyway, Vermont Marble Museum, Vermont.
I call it that time.
Marble. Yeah. So as teenagers, taking me, my sister, and my two brothers, and them being like, oh, how fascinating, all this marble. Now, okay, marble's probably fascinating to me now, but as a smart aleck teenager, we were just like walking around and like being so sassy about all the various marbles we were seeing. And so my father finally threw down his ice cream and said, fine, let's get out of here. My dad is like a very gentle souled person. So I can't even imagine how annoying we must have been to push them to break.
That's what my daughter said. She looks at my mom. She's like, Mom, we haven't even made it inside yet. And Dad's favorite part of the museum is the parking lot.
Oh my God, how proud you must be that you have a staffy one. Good for her.
There should be somebody standing out there in that parking lot telling people that, I think.
No, I hope. I mean, there has to be. Hopefully, there's some kind of artwork.
Well, I think
around
they told us inside, and then I just looked at my kid and I was like, "See, I told you." That's an amazing parking lot.
Eye roll.
Yeah, then came the bigger eye roll. Almost fell out of her head. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's the eyeballs. The eye roll is worse when you're right.
Yeah, but you know that she does think that's cool. You know
she'll
that
eventually,
and she will admit it, and she'll be like, "Dude, I thought it was cool. You nerd." Yeah,
right. Well, half the reason we're doing a podcast is so our kids will think we're cool someday.
Yeah.
Right. When we're dead, probably, but someday.
Yep. Posterity. Yep.
Oh.
Right. Well, should we let our dogs out and stuff? Should we do that?
Sure.
All right. Well, you have been listening to Undetermined the podcast. It is Friday, June 28th, 2019. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us, Lisa Papineau.
My
we
pleasure.
really had a good time. We look forward to having you back.